we in this room talking about death, we've taken our time, is it a luxury? Is spirituality itself, spiritual seeking itself a luxury? Is it because one can see, I remember and when we're talking about death, and I must tell you this, someone who is a very valued employee of our family, who's worked with our family, he could not come to work one day. And I was at the airport and he couldn't come to receive me. And next day he called and he was crying. I had learned that he's lost his brother. He was not crying for his brother. He was apologizing to me. It shook me. He kept the phone down, and I was silent for a while. That even talking about death, even talking about rituals, even talking about life, soul, whatever we call, is it a luxury? Is the fact we have Sadhguru and we go to ashram and we talk about this and you come here in this room, is it all luxury, or the people who are actually in the thick of it? It's like being in a river. If you're fighting with the waves in the river, you're not the one who's standing there with a saksha bhav and looking at a river and admiring the beauty of the river. For you, it is not a river. For you, it's like a flow with which I'm fighting. And you don't even understand the meaning of the river and the beauty of the river and the grandeur of it. So is it a luxury?
See, if you do not understand the nature of the river, if you ask me, you have no business to be in the river.
I don't even know I'm in the river to begin with. It was not my choice. I was thrown into it.
No. See, once you're born as human, you're invested with a certain amount of intelligence and awareness. That's what makes you human. Even if you're considered whatever, special or retarded or whatever you call them, even then, you still have a certain dimension of intelligence and awareness. Actually, many of them have better awareness than a whole lot of other people. Because they're disadvantaged on the outside, they're paying little more attention to the inside. So this has come with you. It is not that you have to be reminded. The only reason why a whole lot of humanity does not look at this, either life has to hit them strong, or as you said, maybe it's a luxury, people have nothing to do, so they've come here to know what about death? Death cafe. No. If you're little conscious, if you're just even minutely conscious, it's very apparent that you're mortal. So the nature of human intelligence is such, it naturally asks a question, what about this? How did all this happen? What is the nature of this life? Why am I here? These questions are not philosophical, this is the nature of human intelligence. Why a whole mass of people are not asking these questions today is because of organized religion. Because for everything, they have a fanciful, ridiculous answer. There is no room for quest, there is no room for seeking. This has been the bedrock and the essence of Eastern cultures, particularly India, that you are not a believer, you're a seeker. You're a seeker of truth, you're a seeker of freedom or liberation. You're not aspiring to believe something. This is a godless culture, this must be understood. When I say godless culture, we understood that if a human being functions beyond the normal limitations that you see in a whole lot of people around you, then we called him, oh, he's godlike. The word God has a different connotation, there is one sitting up there. That never was the case in this part of the world. We call them devas, and there were hundreds and thousands of devas. Anybody who functions, suppose you use the language in a certain way, I'm sure all these people know those words. It is there in the dictionary, I'm sure. But There's certain skill, you use the language, now they will say, oh, he is a poetry god. We are not thinking you're sitting up there and writing poetry. We're just saying you have risen beyond the normal limitations that exist in the society. It can be poetry, it can be sport, it can be art, it can be music, it can be just work. It doesn't matter what. You know, Kubera is a god, just a rich man, because he knows how to make business and money.
We have many now.
Nothing wrong with that. It's glad… we need many more. We definitely need many more in the country. Now, anybody who rises beyond a normal level of competence, he's called a Deva. So our idea of God is an enhanced human being. Our idea of God is not somebody sitting, one Superman sitting up there and doing everything. This is essentially an imported idea. So, when you come to the spiritual process, is it a luxury or is it a basic necessity? If you wish to live your life, if you think life is a struggle, because it's a struggle, because you're uninformed about the nature of life. Anything will be a struggle if you're uninformed about it, isn't it so? If you sit in your car and you don't know how to drive, it started moving. Slowly it started rolling, fear. If it starts going fast, terror, isn't it? But you know how to drive, you sit in the car, the faster it goes, the better it is, isn't it? You'll become ecstatic because it's going fast. You will not become terrorized. So, the same with life. If you know how to drive this life, if you have paid little attention to this, if you at least read the user's manual, how to deal with this, then spiritual process is a fundamental necessity, more essential than learning skills to survive. Because survival, even an earthworm is doing it, a grasshopper is doing it, bird is doing it, all with 1/1,000,000th of your brain, with such a big brain. What is the problem about survival? Only because you want to survive like somebody else. You have a serious issue about survival. If you just want to survive, what's the problem in this world?